Most students think that procrastination happens because they're lazy. I don't think that's true because some of the biggest procrastinators that I know are some of the smartest and most hardworking people I know. They know that the exam is important, they know that they have to study, they know exactly what they need to do, and yet somehow they end up saying, I'll start tomorrow, or after dinner, or on Monday, or after watching one more video. So, why does this keep happening? And most importantly, how to stop it? By the end of this video, you'll understand why you procrastinate, how to stop it immediately, and the one mindset shift that makes procrastination much harder to fall back into. First, let's define procrastination. Most people think that procrastination is the same as being unproductive. Not really. Procrastination is putting off a difficult task into the future over and over again. The key phrase is into the future. Because procrastination is sneaky, it rarely sounds like I don't want to study. It sounds like I'll definitely study tomorrow. And that's why it's dangerous. It sounds reasonable, it sounds responsible, it sounds convincing. After all, it's just a single day. But here's the simple test. If it is not physically impossible to do the task right now and you're still delaying it, you are procrastinating. Not tomorrow, not later, right now. And once I realized this, I noticed something weird. Every time I procrastinated, there was always a reason. Something else felt easier, or something else felt more important. Maybe checking messages, maybe cleaning my room, maybe watching a productivity video instead of actually being productive, which reveals the real reason people procrastinate. You're not choosing between studying and doing nothing. You're choosing between studying and doing something that feels better right now in the moment. And that's where most advice fails. People tell you to use Pomodoro timers, put your phone in another room, download focus apps, and honestly, those things could help. But they all rely on one thing: willpower. And willpower is unreliable. Some days you're motivated, some days you're not. So, what do you do when the motivation disappears? Start with a simple rule. You're allowed to procrastinate, but only once. You choose when you want to procrastinate. Not 5 times, not every day this week, only once per task. If you tell yourself you'll study at 7 pm and 7 pm arrives, you get one delay. After that, the decision is made. This sounds stupidly simple, but it kills the endless cycle of later. The second thing is accountability, because promises made alone are easy to break. Promises made publicly are much harder, and it risks your reputation. Set a deadline, tell a friend, tell a parent, tell a study partner, create consequences. And speaking of consequences, reward yourself when you follow through the deadline, punish yourself when you don't. Nothing extreme, just enough so your brain starts associating keeping promises with positive outcomes. And when the task feels overwhelming, shrink it. Don't tell yourself, I'm going to study OOPS for 4 hours. Tell yourself, I'm going to solve 3 programming questions, or read 2 pages, or study for 10 minutes. Because starting is usually harder than continuing. But here's the problem. Even if all these strategies work, many people still fall back into procrastination a few weeks later. Why? Because the real issue isn't productivity, it's identity. Think about it. Every time you tell yourself, I'm going to study tonight, and then you don't, you're teaching yourself something. You're teaching yourself that your own word doesn't mean much. And that's dangerous, frankly. Because eventually you stop trusting yourself. You set goals, you make plans, you create schedules. But a small part of your brain says, yeah, but we probably won't do it. That's when I realized procrastination isn't really a study problem. It's a self-trust problem. And the solution is surprisingly simple, believe it or not. Before you choose to procrastinate, ask yourself one simple question. What happens if I do this thing instead of going to study? What happens if I scroll reels, go out with friends, play games instead of studying? What are the actual consequences? Like, get down to the physical consequences. Be specific. And what happens if I don't study? Most people only think about the immediate reward. Very few think about the long-term cost. That one question forces you to zoom out. And once you zoom out, the trade becomes much harder to justify. Which brings us to the final piece. Become someone who keeps their word, especially to themselves. Not because it sounds motivational, because it's practical. Personally, ever since I started becoming a person who keeps his word, I always told myself and my friends, a Devedi always keeps his word. And when I started reinforcing that statement, I started actually doing the things that I said I was supposed to do, like making these YouTube videos. I definitely don't feel like making these videos every day, but I still do them because I've said so. The students who consistently succeed aren't always smarter. They've simply built evidence that when they say they'll do something, they do it. Start small, ridiculously small. Keep one promise, then another, then another, then another. Programs like 75 Hard become popular because they're really teaching one skill: keeping promises to yourself. And once you build that skill, studying becomes easier, working out becomes easier, discipline becomes easier. Because the goal was never to eliminate procrastination. The goal was to become the kind of person who no longer negotiates with their own commitments. And once that happens, procrastination loses most of its power. If you like this video, you love this one, check it out. I'll see you there. Bye.